The world of the blind. No sight, just darkness. At least, that's the conception that most imagine the blind world to be. With no sight, what can a blind person be capable of? More than you think. More than we know. Welcome to Deeper Inquiry. Today we explore the world of the blind by visiting Blind Incorporated, a cutting-edge academy helping blind people live independently and stretching the boundaries of what it means to be blind. What can their teaching principles teach the world about the capabilities of the blind? Join us and learn that the difference between blind and sighted isn't as simple as black and light.
I have some paper in here, and you can write out on Braille. I can write. I wrote as "Hello, Brandon" out in Braille on here.
Each of the buttons on the Brailler designates one of the 6 dots on the Braille.
Exactly. There's a space bar in the middle.
Yep.
Then on your left-hand side, you have going from the inside out, that's 1, 2, and 3. And with your right hand, that's 4, 5, and 6.
All right.
A more portable device that we have is a slate and stylus. This is a slate, and you insert paper into here. You close it up, and then you use a stylus, and you can write Braille the same way.
Yeah, I'll look and type them for you.
Read something.
Yeah, why don't you read something? Like, what is this talking about?
This?
Yeah, what is this? I just
Okay.
put a random page.
Okay, tuft of oddly shaped leaves.
Okay. It's like, what do we find?
Nice choice.
Yeah.
Like anybody else, would you go from left to right, and you use 2 hands when you're reading. You can also then take in some of the combined technology in Braille. You can read books off a Braille display, and you can carry mini books on there. So if you're going to school, you can carry all your textbooks on a single device, and you can have it in auditory or in Braille output.
Yeah, so this is the Braille Sense here.
Voice on. The computer class period. Top of document. Welcome. Welcome to computer class period.
So I can type this on here. Type in.
Level exclamation. X space E. Lower F.
Yeah, there's several different software programs. This particular one is called JAWS.
Alt tab. Document 1 dash Microsoft.
We're going to go into Microsoft Word, and I'm going to type "Hello, viewers."
H-E-L-L-O space B-I-E-D-R-S. Explain.
So it can say each letter as you write it if you so choose, or it can do it silently, but then
Hello, viewers.
Huh. So you can read back. So you could have read back to you an entire paragraph or email or article.
you've got it.
As far as like the Windows desktop or something, you know, I could even look at the screen line by line, and it'll give me a feel for where things are.
We'll go to our website.
Uh-huh.
So I do a key command. Anything that the mouse can do, you can do with keys
Yeah.
on there. So I just went into the address field, and I'll type in our address, www. So I did. It'll say each letter as I type it.
Yeah, I heard
You can
that.
set it not to say that too. Go on to the internet. Said start menu, Internet Eye, Internet Explorer connecting, and then you can go on to any website.
Incorporated dash staff students and alumni dash Windows Internet Explorer blind incorporated dash.
So that is our website page, and it can take you there, and I can go around and read what's ever on websites, as long as they're not graphically based on there.
I would visualize a desktop I would visualize, oh, I'm on the home screen. Does someone who's, born, were you born blind?
Yes, I was.
Do you have some sort of mind's eye, do you think, of the home screen?
Yeah, a lot of it is from people describing things to me or reading books, that'll describe how things are laid out. And JAWS also is good about indicating certain things. And sometimes we can try to construct some kind of diagram for people if they're trying to understand how it's laid out, if that's really important. And sometimes it's actually not as important as people think it is.
We don't base what a person can do or not do based on eyesight. So if you have any residual vision, such as any of the three of us, when we underwent our training here, we all had to wear sleep shades, which cover up your eyesight. There's a certain amount of what you can see, and at a certain point, that eyesight doesn't work for you. No matter how hard you try, it just doesn't work. But if you learn how to do things without using your eyesight, learning alternative non-visual skills, you can incorporate the eyesight then with those skills. And so no matter what situation you come into, if your eyesight works for you, great. But you also have those blindness skills when they don't work.
I became blind later in life, 11 years ago, and after training, my vision has progressively gotten worse, and my vision is affected by bright lights or, say, nighttime and so on. There's so many different environments that I cannot control. But learning under the sleep shades allowed me to learn techniques that always work all of the time.
I noticed when I was a student here that there becomes, all that white noise that you just hear going by you all the time. I all of a sudden had to tap into and draw from that, and pretty soon you get so used to that you get this new level of white noise. the white noise that you let go by again,
It's really a manual thing. I mean, just getting the screws in the right place, and then making sure that they're aligned correctly, and then using the drill. And there's an auditory cue when the screw has been set, and which is pretty obvious.
Yeah, when I think now back to when I hammer a nail into a wall or a drill, I'm feeling for that stud.
Exactly.
I probably use more non-visual than I even realized.
Yeah.
Like Alyssa just asked the question, oh, why did this stop sizzling? Because she was cooking with oil and had just put in soy sauce. So it's about learning things like that, like, oh, well, when there's more moisture in the pan, like this is the sound you're going to get versus, when you're cooking with oil versus butter versus like different, these are the sounds that you should expect, and these are sounds when you know something is wrong.
Well, that's the big thing there. You were talking about listening and using your ears, and hearing is a big part of travel. And at first, when a person puts on sleep shades, and we go out and just around the home block here, what the student will point out to me is that the traffic sounds so loud, and you're hearing all this flood of noise coming into your ears, and it's getting a student to pick out what noises are important in the environment, because when you first put on the sleep shades, you'll hear an intersection out in front of you, and it's not that your hearing gets better, it's just that now you're using your hearing more, so you're more in tune with it. And a lot of time we call that white noise.
Yeah.
And it's picking out different types of noises, like the parallel traffic versus the perpendicular traffic. Those kinds of things can be very challenging at first to a student.
We listen to traffic.
Okay.
Traffic is our friend, actually. When I reach a street corner, I listen for traffic, and if traffic is going across in front of me, I know traffic, I better not cross.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for that traffic to stop, and I listen for traffic that is parallel, going the same direction. And when that parallel traffic starts going across the street, I know the light has turned green, I can go across. That's when it's safe.
A non-visual technique is, for example, I can follow this wall on my left, and then I know by the way my cane feels the surface that I'm at the grand staircase railing, so then I'm going to follow this railing around. So what I'm doing is I'm keeping my cane extended out in front of me some distance, What I'm looking for is this drop. And when I find that drop with my cane, I know there's a stair coming up. I'm sweeping, find my toes. And as I go down, I have my cane in front of me. And then when I come to the landing, my cane is at the same level it was up there.
One of the things, when I went through training, I expected, you know, these alternative techniques to be these magnanimous, this is how a blind person does something. And most of the time, they were so simple.
We've taken just a fabric paint and made some raised markings. For instance, this is temperature. You notice we don't have any numbers on here.
I see.
And by putting a marking here, that will give us a benchmark of a certain temperature that when you're just feeling it, if you know that this is 250 degrees, for instance, if you get that turned so it matches up with this mark up above.
I think I had a bruise on my forehead from going, duh. But the difference was because I wasn't blind before. I didn't know how blind people did things. It wasn't in my knowledge base. Even though there were simple little things, give me enough time, I might have figured them all out. But here, I get it all at one time, and I learn it quickly.
The only thing that changed was getting training. And when I went back to school, I graduated magna cum laude, and now I'm Minnesota Student of the Year. And that was the only change, was the training. And it made a huge, that was it. My name is Michelle Denise Michaels. I'm a graduate of Blind Incorporated, and I'm a singer.
My name is Al Spooner with Blind Incorporated. Here I do outreach and marketing.
And I'm Sean Mayo. I'm a graduate of Blind Incorporated and the executive director of Blind Incorporated. And Blind Incorporated is actually an acronym that stands for Blindness, Learning, and New Dimensions.
What are those new dimensions?
It's really the way that we teach, our philosophy and our teaching methods that we teach here, and really opening up the world to what blind people think that they can do. Oftentimes, when a person's blind, and society in general, think that if you're blind, what can you really do? And we want to show that the dimensions out there of the world, that they're all open to you. It's more based on your interests, your ability, your intellect, and not on how much you can see or can't see.
Before I came here, I defined myself as based on what I can't do. So if you ask me what I do, I would say I can't drive, I can't do all kinds of things. And Sean asked me what would I want to be if I could see, you know, if I had 20/20 vision, and I want to be a flight attendant. and then we figured out what about it I liked, and I liked the wheelie, you know, having a little suitcase and walking through the airport looking cute, and airplane food. So then I discovered that I could do that in my singing career. I still have a suitcase, and I still could get airplane food. And but from coming here and gaining the skills, I now define myself based on what I can do.
One of the first questions, Sean, you ask new students that come here, what is it that you would do, assuming you could see? And then taking that answer and maybe translating it into a formidable career for someone with a visual impairment?
Well, actually, yeah, we'll ask them a lot of times what they'd like to do, and most times they can do what they want to do. Do you think, would it be possible, would one of you guys be willing to cut a piece of wood?
I can.
Okay.
Just go ahead and cut.
Our graduates here go into just about any profession you can think of. We have the singers such as Michelle.
Just stay, my funny Valentine. Stay, stay, stay each day.
We have a person who is in the film industry, lives here and goes out to LA, and he also does a literacy project with the United States government and the Egyptian government and flies back and forth. spreading literacy. Our maintenance man here is blind. One of our graduates is a teacher in middle school, a middle school English teacher. So just about everything you can think of. We had somebody, one of our seniors was a gun safety man.
This school isn't a high school or a school that's going to give you a diploma.
It's not an academic environment whatsoever. It's more a blindness submersion. You know, you eat, sleep, and think blindness 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We tell students class time is 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, but you are in training 24 hours a day. Students live in the apartments. They go home to the apartments. There's no one there to help them. They have to take care of themselves. They got to clean that apartment. They got to cook. They got to do their own grocery shopping.
That's part of the curriculum here?
That's part of the curriculum.
We have Braille, reading and writing Braille. We have assistive technology, which is using computers with synthesized speech. We have daily living skills and home management. We're cooking and cleaning, organizing.
The small meal requirements are you need to have 3 hot dishes. With one of them has to be a meat that you cut with a knife, and then a super salad beforehand, some type of bread, and dessert. So it's not really a small meal in terms of quantity of food. Yeah, it's a small. It's the reason we call it a small meal is because it's you're serving 4 to 6 people. Well, 6 for us, but it's you know, like it's small in terms of the number of people who will be eating the food.
And then we have cane travel class. People go out in the community so that they can travel in familiar and unfamiliar locations independently.
Then as a student progresses through travel, also the intersections that we go over will become increasingly more difficult as well. You know, the stuff they work on early on in travel, after a couple months will seem easy to that student. And you know, it's very mentally draining at first too, because a student is learning how to hold the cane properly. And so maybe the student is thinking, I gotta tap over to my left, tap over to my right. And every step they're thinking about this process. After a few weeks, they're not thinking as much about that process. They may be thinking about what they're having for supper tonight.
Part of it is the transferring of skills. Like when a student first starts, the instructors are going to be there with them at the beginning and showing and teaching.
At their places of where they live?
Here, and we do have people at the apartments that can help out as needed. But as the student gains those skills, the instructors will pull back.
The goal of travel class is to work myself out of a job with a student. At first I'm really close. You know, we're pretty much attached at the hip when we go out and travel. And then by the time they graduate, they don't want nothing to do with me. They're traveling all over the city by themselves and, you know, get that sense of independence.
We have a jobs class to help people prepare resumes, prepare to go out into the workforce. The underemployment rate among the blind is about 70% more, and we've seen within a year of graduating here, 75% or more of our students go into employment and back into college, and so that's our goal. You know, we have, it shows the difference that training can make to go back into employment, then you're paying back into the system.
We want to be employable, and we want to, partially to achieve that, we need to learn ways that we can adapt to the environment rather than making the environment adapt to us, because we believe that makes us a much more employable candidate.
Sure.
And so in our teaching methods, in all the classes, that's one of the approaches we take. You go to home management, you'll see that it's all the normal appliances everybody else uses.
You can go out there and spend lots of money buying all these little gadgets and gizmos and that, but no, we want people to be able, again, to integrate, you know, and with everybody else in society. We have activities that we go out to. Annually, we take a dog sledding trip up north, and students drive the dog sleds, and we go apple picking. We go rock climbing. It's those activities that your friends, family do, so that you can interact with them but it also allows you to transfer the skills that you've learned in the classroom to the real world outside.
I also like being around, like when I'm feeling bad about myself and I can't do things because I'm blind. And then I know Sean and I know Al and all these other people who are, they have houses and they're doing all these great things. So it takes the excuses away.
I suppose then there's a real healthy, strong community in the Twin Cities here of people with visual impairments who live the lives they want to live. And obviously for you, it was a strong component and the reason why you decided to stick around even after you graduated.
I had a strange story the other day. Some woman, she walked up to me and she wanted to know if there was something wrong in Minnesota. She thought there were so many blind people she sees walking up and down the street, so she thought there was something wrong with the water. And I was like, no, there's an independent community here. So.
People say, well, Blind Incorporated, they have high expectations. And I say, well, we have the same expectations for a blind person as you would have for someone with some sight, or as a sighted person. The word independence to us means many different things depending on what area you're talking about. But for example, in travel, independence means I can go where I want, when I want, by myself, without taking somebody's arm and having, or having to follow someone. Some other people, definition of independence is, well, you can walk around with a cane safely, but you're going to need help crossing streets and that sort of thing. And we believe, well, we should be able to go where we want by ourselves.
One of the things that's very important when we have staff here is that we have a belief in students. As students are going through the program, I think it's human nature that we all put limits upon ourselves, what we do. And so we're going to push people and stretch their limits out there, and so that they can expand what they believe that they can do. So we have that can-do attitude that Michelle was referring to earlier. Take, for example, in travel class, students will be given an address and they'll be able to go out on their own and locate that business.
This was the first place that required something of me. That's why I was really attracted to here, because if you don't follow the rules, then you're basically asking yourself to leave.
Yeah.
And I've never been someplace that I was required to do anything. If I was in a math class or something, the teacher was just happy that I showed up, and then they'd give you a grade for that. And so I knew anything that I did here was, I was really being graded on what I did. Sean was always challenging me to shop for myself. I never went to a store by myself before. And then the next move was traveling and being in the airport and being independent. So always my fight in the airport now is to stay independent and not to be sitting with the unaccompanied minors. And they've given us skills to really do that efficiently. And I find I get to my seat faster than sighted people. I even get to my gate a lot of times faster. And I go anywhere and I'm confident, and because of the skills they've taught us with traveling, that you don't have to because of the skills I acquired from travel class, I don't feel like I have to know someplace before. Right. I just go and I use my cane and I'm fine.
We believe the real problem of blindness isn't the lack of eyesight, it's the lack of information about blindness. And we believe that with the proper training and the opportunity, the blind person can be successfully competitive along his or her sighted co-workers. We go on to believe that blindness can be reduced to a nuisance. And that core philosophy is what drives what we do, how we teach, and how we make decisions on what we teach, and our expectations of other people.
I thought blindness meant I couldn't have a family. I thought it meant I couldn't get married. I never do anything alone.
Do you think a lot of blind people today still have that?
I think not people in NFB, but
right.
Yeah. The other thing I got from being here too is that I didn't want to be a singer because I thought it was a blind job, and I assumed that sighted people, blind people only, they weaved baskets or they sang, and so it's something I didn't want to do. So from being here and realizing that it's just a characteristic, I'm blind, I'm black, all that kind of stuff, I'm a woman, I was able to really go into my career and know that, I'm not doing that because I'm blind.
One of the things that goes on in a center like this, there's the classroom instruction, but there's so much more that happens in between classes and in the evenings. interacting with other blind people and our blind role models. So, you know, we call some of what we do using alternative techniques, finding a way to get something done non-visually. And I like to call them tools in my toolbox.
The skills are relatively easy to learn. You know, if you practice it, it's like learning any new skill. The part that takes time is that getting to that gut level of really believing in these skills and in yourself
I
as a
think that's
blind.
where the environment would really be conducive to helping that, you know, assumption within oneself.
The self-confidence that comes from achieving the tasks that we have in each of the classes. You know, they're learning the skills, learning the alternative techniques, but actually doing those things that builds that gut level self-confidence that empowers them to problem solve and go out there and understand that they know they can do it. You know, they know that they know. When I run into a situation, I don't look and say, oh, can't do that because I can't see. I look at it and say, okay, let's try this. You know, similar to something else that I've done.
It just spurs on such healthy mental activity, doesn't it? You know, it makes you just, it just completely opens the mind up to possibilities.
One of the biggest philosophies is that, you know, before you come here, blindness is really controlling your life. What decisions you make, what you're going to do, how you're going to live. And one of the goals is after training is that you're in control of your life, not blindness.
The initiative, the drive, the productivity, the creativity shown to us here provides inspiration for all of us in knowing how to overcome our own challenges. It provides a motivation to choose to live rather than simply exist. And it provides us with a way to feel closer as humans, specifically to better understand our friends who live in the world of the blind.